right, it is 4 p.m., so I will call to order this meeting of the Salina Heritage Commission for December 4th, 2025. Item 1.2, can staff confirm the Kansas Open Meetings Act required notice has been properly provided?
Yes, I can confirm that the packet was posted and the required notice was provided.
All right, thank you, Daisy. And item 1.3 is roll call.
Commissioner Gillum?
Here.
Commissioner Compton? Commissioner Gilmore? Commissioner Walter Mangus?
Here.
Commissioner Sorrell?
Here.
Commissioner Waters?
Here.
And Chair Martin.
Here.
So with 5 out of 7 members, we have a quorum and we can proceed with business.
All right, thank you. Item 2.1 is approval of minutes of the October 29th, 2025 regular meeting. If you guys had a chance to look over those, if you have any questions, please ask those of staff. Otherwise, I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I move we approve the minutes of the October 29 meeting.
All right, have a motion.
Second.
And a second to approve the minutes from October 29th, 2025. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Moving on to new business, item 3.1, application CA 25-5, filed by Mike McCall.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. Application CA 25-5 was filed by Mike McCall with M Squared Architects, requesting the approval of a certificate of appropriateness to allow for the construction of a new rear addition, a detached 2-car garage, and the rebuilding of the front steps of a residence addressed as 626 South Santa Fe Avenue. The property that is the subject of this certificate of appropriateness request is legally described as the north half of Lot 10 on Santa Fe Avenue in the Prescott Edition. And we'll go ahead and get started. So the city's records indicate that the house at 626 South Santa Fe was constructed in 1911. And currently the present owners are the Schneiders. The property was included in the 1983-84 Historic Resources Survey for the high degree of structural integrity it possesses from original design. The home contributes to the scale and visual harmony of neighboring properties and was recommended as designated as a contributing property within the South Santa Fe Avenue Historic District. And a unique, I guess, fun fact about the designation of the historic district is the Schneiders were actually the applicants to establish the historic district back when it was originally established. So our property owners here have a unique connection to one of the historic districts of Salina. The property at 626 South Santa Fe is identified as a contributing property. This historic designation means that a certificate of appropriateness for the project must be reviewed and approved by the Salina Heritage Commission before a building permit can be issued for any construction, alteration, or removal requiring a building permit. So we're going to break this down into the 3 different projects. So we'll talk about all 3 and then we'll come back together at the end. So Project 1 is the rear addition. So the applicant is requesting Heritage Commission approval for construction of a 24-foot by 17-foot 8-inch or 422 square foot rear addition. The project architect describes the addition as a master suite addition, which would be added to the rear of the house. The proposed addition would have an architecturally shingled roof that matches the roof on the existing portions of the dwelling. The red cedar shingle siding would be maintained on the addition, matching the existing siding on the sides and rear of the house, and a limestone basement wall would be similar to the existing limestone on the front of the residence. The addition would be 12 feet 2 inches in height and would rise right below the existing second-story windows. So you can see on the screen in the bottom, I guess in both the bottom drawings. So you have, you can see where it hits right below that white box. So that white box there's windows there, so it hits to just below that, and then you can see as it extends out from the existing house. So the design, from a staff analysis perspective, the design of the addition appears to be compatible with the historic dwelling's form, scale, massing, size, and materials. The addition will not overwhelm or dominate the existing structure, as it's located in the rear and only encompasses the first story of the home. It meets the requirements under the Secretary of Interior standards for rehabilitation for addition to historic structures. And staff finds that the addition preserves the historic character while being distinguishable and subordinate to the primary dwelling. Project number 2 is the detached garage. The applicant is also requesting Heritage Commission approval for the construction of a 28-foot by 24-foot 11-inch, or roughly 700 square foot detached garage. The proposed detached garage would be located 24 feet west of the existing dwelling in the rear yard of the property. The applicant's proposed garage would have a hipped 12-9 roof, with architectural shingles that would match the existing residence. The new garage would be located west of the house and access from an existing driveway on Santa Fe Avenue. Plans show a garage door facing Santa Fe, and the new garage would have horizontal siding. So, as to the proposed detached garage, the dwelling located on this lot is considered to be the principal use, and detached garages and sheds are considered to be accessory structures. An application to construct a new accessory structure should be evaluated based on the following criteria. So accessory structures within the boundaries of a designated historic district should be appropriate to and compatible with the architectural forms of the primary structure on the lot, so which would be the house. In addition, Section 4258 1B of the Salina zoning ordinance requires that detached garages be compatible in design, materials, and appearance with the dwelling they serve. This applies to all residential districts, not just historic districts. And so the city has a compatibility checklist it uses for residential accessory buildings. So that would be like detached garages, carports, storage sheds, to determine whether a proposed accessory building is compatible to the design, materials, and appearance with the principal dwelling. In order for staff to issue a building permit for a proposed detached garage, it must meet at least 3 of the 5 points of compatibility with the house that it serves. So we'll walk through that compatibility checklist. So the predominant building material that is used for the siding of the accessory structure matches that used on the principal residential dwelling. So the exterior of the existing dwelling consists of red brick on the first story and cedar shingle siding on the second story. However, the siding material of the proposed garage would consist of horizontal siding. There does not appear to be any horizontal wood lap siding on the principal structure. Without more information on the proposed siding, it would appear to staff that the proposed building material does not match the primary dwelling. The proposed garage would also feature a decorative gable roof facing east that is decorated with cedar shingles, similar to those found on the second story of the principal structure. While this design element would be compatible with the principal structure, the bulk of the exterior of the proposed garage does not appear to be compatible in material. So staff has determined that the proposed accessory structure does not match the principal residential dwelling design factor for criteria 1. Criteria 2 is the predominant material that is used for the roofing of the accessory structure matches that used on the principal residential dwelling. The roofing material of the proposed garage would consist of architectural shingles, which would closely match the style and color of the shingles on the existing dwelling. Staff has determined that the proposed structure matches the principal residential dwelling design factor for criteria 2. The roof style: the existing dwelling has a steeply pitched hip roof with an eastward east-west ridge line. The proposed garage would also have a hip-style roof with the ridge oriented east-west. The proposed hip roof on the garage would be accented by a decorative gable roof extension. However, the proposed plans do not show the pitch of the existing dwelling, so staff is unable to determine how the roof pitch of the proposed garage compares. So staff cannot determine whether the proposed accessory structure matches the principal residential dwelling factor for criteria 3, but we would invite the at the end invite the applicant to let us know, because if he is aware of the pitch and the pitch does match, there's potential that criteria could be met. The sidewall height of the first floor of the existing dwelling is approximately 12 feet. The sidewall height of the proposed garage would be 12 feet, and staff has determined that the accessory structure matches the principal residential dwelling design factor for criteria 4. In the paint or finish color, which is criteria 5, I spoke with the project architect, Mr. McCall, before the meeting, and he indicated that the proposed detached garage would be red in color to match the existing dwelling. So staff can say that the proposed accessory structure matches the principal residential dwelling for criteria 5. So 3 out of the 5 criteria for the structure are met, with the potential of possibly 4 of the 5 criteria being met. Staff believes that the garage as proposed meets the compatibility standard in the Heritage Commission ordinance, and while with receiving more information from the architect, it appears that the proposed garage would meet at least 3 of the compatibility checklist standards. The last part of the project is the replacement of the, getting mixed up here, would be the replacement of the rear or the front steps. So the applicant is also requesting a certificate of appropriateness to replace the existing front stone steps with new stone, while also replacing the stone on the sidewalls to match the existing stone on the house. Additional treads and rise would be added to the steps to make entry and exit easier. As to the replacement of the existing stone steps, the proposal aims to maintain the architectural design, materials, and character of the existing steps while improving the structure and function of the existing steps. Staff believes that the steps meet the standards set out in the Secretary of Interior standards and maintain the historic character of the existing stone steps on the house. So staff has found a summary of possible findings. Those would include the proposed new construction is compatible as to design, materials, and appearance with the architectural features of the existing house on the lot and the surrounding historic neighborhood. The proposed placement of the new garage conforms with all setback requirements and size limitations of the zoning ordinance, and the proposed replacement of the stone steps appear to maintain the architectural design, materials, and character of the existing steps while improving the structure and function of the steps. Following review of all relevant material and any additional information presented at the hearing and discussion, the Heritage Commission would appear to have the following options in consideration of this application. You could approve a certificate of appropriateness for all 3 work items based on staff's findings that the proposed project will conform with the Heritage Commission district ordinance and the city's compatibility checklist for detached garages. 2, you could approve a certificate of appropriateness for the total project subject to any findings or subject to any conditions or revisions approved by a majority of the commission. 3, the commission could deny 1 or more of the work items that are a part of the application if it finds that the findings that would support approval of that change cannot be made. 4, you could postpone consideration of the application or any individual work item in order to obtain additional information. Or 5, you could deny the application as presented. Staff would recommend, if the Heritage Commission agrees that the applicant has provided sufficient information concerning the proposed project, and the board concurs with staff's findings that the new construction and proposed modifications to the dwelling are compatible with the existing home on this lot and the surrounding historic district, we would recommend option 1, approval of the projects. And before we finish, we did receive, and you'll find it at your seats, but we did receive an email from the Klostermeyers, who live at 660 South Santa Fe, and they wrote, "I'm writing to express our support in favor of the above referenced application for an addition and garage at 626 South Santa Fe Avenue. We have known the applicants, Twyla and David, for many years and appreciate their dedication to conserving the historic nature of the neighborhood." So that is the public comment we received. And with that, staff's available for any questions. The property owners are here, and Mr. McCall is here as well.
Okay. Thank you, Gage. Do you guys have any questions for staff?
I do not. Staff.
Okay.
Is there any way we can get this design packet on the computers we're using here? Because it's very, very difficult to read and see
Yeah.
what is up there on the screen.
Yeah, if
Not
you
to mention the
go-
pictures are tiny.
If you go
Yeah.
to page 16 in the packet, there's a PDF link
Okay.
that'll pull it open.
Okay.
Thank you. There it is. Thank you.
Mhm.
Is there no existing garage?
There is not. There is a shed on the property, so they would have 2 detached structures. But on the site plan, which is the first page of the plan set, you'll find that the shed is, I guess, southwest
I
of
see
the
it.
existing. Yeah.
I've got a question on the siding when he comes up.
Yeah. That'd be good.
All right. I would invite the applicant to come up and give a presentation. If you want to come up to the dais and introduce yourself. Yeah, go ahead.
Thanks. Oh, I know, you need to talk to, but I'm going to say something first. Hi, I'm Twyla Schneiders, and yes, I have lived at that property since the late 80s, and we love living in the historic district. And as a consequence, we want to be able to stay there, and we're aging. So that's why we decided on the addition, even though it will change the value of the property more than we'll ever recover when it's sold. But what matters to us is to be able to stay in that property if we can. Anyway.
Good afternoon, Mike McCall with Imskart Architects. As far as the roof pitch, I didn't climb clear up there and actually measure the roof pitch on the existing house. It's got to be 912 to 1212. That's kind of where I went with the 912 on the garage. 1212 just looked really tall, so I brought it down just for cost and for looks. There's really no point of that space. We're not really going to use it for any storage up in the attic space of that garage, so it's just kind of trying to match the characteristics of the house. So that's the reason we kind of went with that. The horizontal siding on the garage, I went that way. I know a lot of the garages, if you drive down Santa Fe in that area and look at the back garages, probably 9 out of 10 of them are going to be horizontal siding of some kind, not matching the exact house. It was just typical at that time period, is when that was just a little, most of those houses when they were built, they had Model A's, Model T's parked in them little tiny garages, and so they didn't want to spend a lot of money on it, but they wanted to get their cars out of the weather. So that's kind of the reason we went that direction. If that's a concern, we can definitely look at changing the siding if we need to. But I would like to just kind of stay that direction, just from that standpoint is where I was looking at. So, and like I said, the colors and stuff, the stone on the base of the addition will match the existing. The front porch, we're going to reuse most of the stone that's there. We're just going to extend it out another foot or so because they wanted to drop the rise of the risers down, so it's a little easier for them to get up and down. Plus, the risers that are there are really worn, so we're going to have to replace them anyway. But we'll replace them with like stone, so it still will be a stone structure. We're just going to add a little bit so we can push it out and change the access to that. Would make it a little easier. And then we're adding a couple handrails on each side, which currently are not there, but I kind of modeled those off of some of the details off of the house windows and stuff. So if you see the kind of the decorative piece underneath the rail itself, that's basically a detail off of the windows there on the front of the house. So
Have you priced the shingle siding panels? They're pretty comparable to the lap siding.
yeah, I haven't really priced them. I've got the contractors pricing things out right now, so I'm waiting to get his numbers back at this point. So it just really depends on how they decide if they're actually going to put the actual cedar shingles up, which I'm thinking that's the way we kind of, I preferenced it to him because I want it to match as close as possible. Except no, the garage, we could, make something, do a panel that looked more like a cedar shake. There are out there, so we could look at that. But
Yeah. If you're already doing that addition that way, maybe your material costs would be cheaper.
right, yeah,
at the
there's a
garage.
possibility, and that's something
Yeah.
we could definitely look at. But
I think staff would just note that, as we talked about in the staff report, it does meet at least 3 out of the 5 with or without. I mean, it would be the discretion of the Heritage Commission ultimately, but it does meet the criteria. So if the shed were approved today, or the garage, staff could approve a building permit because it not only would you guys approve it, but it also meets 3 out of the 5 accessory structure compatibility. So.
I don't have any questions. I appreciate the efforts by the architect and owners to work with this criteria to meet it. So, just a comment.
thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
All right. Anybody else have any questions? No. Okay. Was there any other citizens online or would like to comment?
We do not have anybody from
Okay.
the public on Zoom.
Okay. All right. So I'll close the public comment portion and then bring it back to discussion. If you guys have anything else to talk about, so I would be open for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve this application following option 1 on page 13 of 49 of our report.
All right. I have a motion for option 1.
I second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Any opposed? Nope. Motion carries.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on to item 3.2 is application CA 25-6 filed by Tim Schrader.
Thank you, Chair and Commissioners. Item 3.2 is application CA 25-6 filed by Tim Schrader requesting the approval of a certificate of appropriateness to allow exterior repairs to the front porch of the dwelling of where he lives. The subject property is legally described as the east 137 feet of lots 2 and 4 in Block 8 of the Bonds Edition and is addressed as 800 South Santa Fe Avenue. The subject property is the designated landmark property within the 800 block of the South Santa Fe Avenue Historic District. This home, known historically as the Robert H. Allerton House, was constructed in 1887. It's a significant example of Victorian architecture demonstrating a dramatic blend of shingle and Queen Anne styling. The key features include the high-pitched cross-gable roof, ornamental shingle patterns, and the prominent L-shaped front porch with its turned spindlework supports and balustrade. This porch is specifically identified in the designating ordinance or in the historical inventory documents as a significant exterior feature that to be protected. The applicant proposes to repair and maintain this porch. Specifically, the scope of work includes repairing the rotted bottoms of 3 existing turned columns. The applicant's primary intent is to repair these by replacing only the rotted wood with new treated lumber. However, the scope also includes an option to replace them entirely because they are fairly degraded, and some parts of them are. And so it kind of depends if the repair proves to be feasible or not once they get in there and really start doing the work. They also are proposing to do the repointing on the brick support on the brick columns or supports, replacing the rotted floor joists and replacing them with replacing the existing fir flooring with new fir tongue and groove flooring, replacing 3 of the stair treads, turning and installing new spindles to match the existing ones on the exterior around the porch there, and so the replacement. So it's a mix of replacing and repairing that's going on. The landmark designation means that the certificate of appropriateness for the project must be reviewed and approved by the Heritage Commission before a building permit can be issued for any construction or alteration. Just a note on this. This was submitted following a stop work by city staff when we observed that there was work going on, and so staff worked with the applicant to get the necessary applications in, which includes the review of the proposed work by the Heritage Commission. And I'll note that also that some of the items within the scope actually fall into the stuff on our matrix that we can review and approve administratively, but due to the overall scope not falling entirely under the administrative items, and with the fact that it's a landmark property, we just felt that it was better to just bring all of the proposed work to the board and bring it before you for review. So during our review, we noticed that the home's exterior color was different than what was shown in the historic resources inventory. And if you want to jump over to the historic. Yeah, this is from the 1991 historic resources inventory. So you'll see it's like a bright pink color, and it's noted in the documentation there from 1991 when the property was put into the historic district, and it's currently a gray blue, kind of a slate gray color. So we discussed this with the owner, and it turns out it was repainted in about 2020 without a certificate of appropriateness. However, in discussing this with the homeowner, staff believes this was just an unintentional oversight. The owners actually owned the house since 1985, since well before it was put into the historic district, and actually owned it since before the ordinance was created for for our historic districts. So it was actually painted red when the owner purchased it. So the color that's shown in our documentation is not actually how it was when he purchased it. So staff kind of going in, we looked at our documentation, and saw the discrepancy, and then as we discussed it with the homeowner, realized that it had been painted the pink color from what it was when he originally bought it. And he actually provided some interesting info that were layers underneath that were cream and gray, with I think the oldest layer being in a gray color. So that kind of brings it back to it's currently possibly painted more of an accurate color to what it was originally. Overall, it's just to say that it's been painted a few times, and staff doesn't feel like this was an intentional going around the process or anything like that. And it kind of ended up bringing out some extra details about the property's history. We also received one email of support for the repairs from Mr. Marietta, a neighbor that lives at 760 South Santa Fe Avenue. And staff finds that the proposed work aligns with the Secretary of the Interior standards, specifically Standard 6, which states that deteriorated historic features shall be repaired rather than replaced. And that is the intention of the homeowner to try to repair instead of replace, but is also considering replacement as needed to replace with like for like replacements where he needs to maintain the character of the property. So where the replacement is necessary, such as the flooring and spindles, the applicant proposes in-kind matches in material, design, color, and texture, which do meet the standards for preserving distinct features and craftsmanship. The applicant has provided numerous details, and a lot of what we have are photos because of the type of repairs that are being done. Can you rotate those, maybe 90? Thanks. There aren't plans like in the previous application that had architect's plans. So we have a lot of photos of the existing conditions to help show what it is and have explained the scope, but we don't have actual plans to review here. But he has provided a lot of details with the photos and in the application. And we identified 3 items where we've requested some additional detail that we would like the applicant to expand on a little bit to the commission if you wish to discuss them. One of those is the specific wood species for any columns or spindles requiring full replacement, if that's of any concern to you. 2 is the approach for sourcing any custom turned items or things like that, because those are more of a craftsman level of getting an exact replacement. The homeowner has said that he's going to be planning to turn some of those spindles himself, the smaller ones, but the bigger columns, if they need replacement, he would need to source those. And the 3rd one was just any additional details on the painting history to help kind of bring out those extra details about it, because it was kind of interesting to see or to hear that there was a little bit of history that we didn't actually have from our historic resource inventory. So on page 8 of your packet, we've outlined the alternatives for the commission. Option 1 is to approve a certificate of appropriateness for the proposed porch repairs and potential component replacement based on staff's findings that the proposed project will conform to the Heritage Conservation District Ordinance and Secretary of Interior's standards. Option 2 would be to approve a certificate of appropriateness for the proposed porch repairs and potential component replacements based on staff's findings, subject to any conditions approved by a majority of the commission. Option 3 would be to postpone consideration of the application in order to obtain additional information concerning the proposal. The date of the future meeting must be included in the motion. And option 4 would be to deny the application as presented upon making findings that the proposed work does not meet the criteria in the Heritage Conservation District Ordinance. Staff recommends option number 2, approving the request with three conditions listed in the staff report. Condition 1 would be the new turned spindles shall match the existing historic spindles in height, width, profile, and design. Condition 2 would be the repairs to the column bases shall be finished, primed and painted to match the existing columns, resulting in a seamless appearance. If the columns are replaced, the new columns shall match the historic columns in height, width, profile, and design. And condition 3 would be any brick repointing shall utilize mortar that matches the existing brickwork in color, composition, texture, and tooling. And the applicant is here to answer any questions you might have, and staff's available as well.
All right, thank you. Does anybody have any questions for staff?
I just have a clarification question. Because this property is a landmark in lieu of, say, like a contributing house, is that why it triggers the the concern about the painting of the house?
Yeah, partially that. Also, in this document here, Marissa, can you scroll? I think it may be down, actually, down a couple pages. Yeah. So in the architectural significance, and it's almost verbatim from this that's in your report, where for the architectural significance and the historical significance, you'll see that the architectural significance talks about the color. So that's kind of what brought it in. It's really noted in here, the unique color, and it references like a painted lady's color scheme. So going into it, we're looking at, the paint being a fairly significant feature that is described in here, and so that's what kind of brought that into play. The paint is not part of the application right now. It's been repainted 5 years ago. To staff's knowledge, we haven't ever received a comment on the paint. Doesn't seem like anybody around has an issue with it, and it was pretty interesting that it seems like it might be back to fairly similar to the original color, but I'll let the owner expand on that if he wants. And,
okay. Well, yeah, I just wanted to...
I don't know if did that answer...
It does, yeah. I just want to clarify, because I know on past applications we've had, typically homes and things, we don't dictate paint colors and like landscaping, so I wanted to know if that in particular, something was triggering that.
Yeah, really, it depends on the context of when you read the designation. To Dustin's point of since it specifically mentioned color, that's why we were specifically noting it. But in a lot of cases, the designation or the background that was written as part of the historic resources inventory does not get into color as a historic feature.
Yeah, I think it's towards the end of their architectural significance, and I believe this is actually in your packet attached. These pages are, so it would be after the photos from 1991. It's in the architectural significance portion a couple times, and then in the staff remarks. So with it having a few places in there, we just felt like it is a kind of a part of the characteristics there that possibly made it be recognized as a landmark, So.
Okay. Appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I would invite the applicants to come up if you want to introduce yourself.
My name's Tim Schrader, and I'm the owner of 800 South Santa Fe. My goal is not much different than the Commission's goal in restoring and preserving historic homes in Salina. And as far as the changes, that I'm not going to be changing anything per se, but just trying to repair what's there, trying to leave as much as I can intact. When we first moved in 40 years ago, I did replace a lot of the spindle work on the front porch with like material. I turned the turnings there out of cedar. I might change that if I had a chance, but I don't know. The cedar's holding up really well, and that's been 40 years. And it's just time to replace a few more of the original spindles with like turning, like profile. Just wanting to make sure that the house doesn't deteriorate more than it has. It's hard to keep a structure like this maintained, as you probably, anyone that has an older home can attest to. And I don't know if you have any questions about any of the joists. As you remove a few things and find out okay, I need a little more repair work than I thought. The floor joists on the end of the porch were rotted. Those are going to have to be sistered in, replaced with probably treated lumber would be the best, treated yellow pine, sistered into the original flooring. And then my goal was to replace all of the flooring rather than piecemeal with like kind, which was original fir flooring rather than any kind of composite. I have been in conversation with a couple of individuals. One's a company in Canada to turn new posts, new columns would be on the north side, at least 2 of those. I'm in conversation with an individual here in Kansas, but we haven't come to an agreement about cost, what he would charge as yet. So he hasn't gotten back to me on those. So I'd like to repair what's there. In the future, I probably would think, and especially the 2 north columns, and replacing those with like kind, if I can. As far as the color goes, I have to apologize because that was an oversight. I didn't think that was a requirement. I remember when the ordinance was presented and the homeowners talked about it, they viewed paint color as being more cosmetic and of personal preference than part of the structure itself, the integrity of the structure. So I didn't realize that was a requirement.
All right. Thank you. Do you guys have any questions?
I don't.
Yeah, I'm going to say something real quick here.
Yeah.
So just to give you the text from the ordinance, it says the homeowner's right there. There's a different way that you could kind of read this and interpret it. So it doesn't specifically call out paint color. So just to his point about that, it does say that the types of significant exterior architectural features of the structures within the district that should be protected include the principal facades, main entrances, protruding bays, dormers, covered porches, extended entryways, porticoches, and broad cantilevered eaves. So the way staff was trying to err on the side of making sure anything that needed to be brought before the commission was brought before you, mainly because it's not a structural or ornamental feature of the facade. The paint color definitely is a more cosmetic thing, but it was kind of that language, and with it not specifically calling out paint color, but the fact that it was in the description. So that's why we just wanted to make sure that it was brought up and not missed, so, yeah.
Okay. I'm just curious, do you know what the original wood of the porch, like the spindles, what that would have been?
What they would have been made of?
Yeah.
No, I think they probably were a yellow pine. I think the columns are yellow pine. The conversation I had with the company in Canada wanted to use white pine, which is a clear pine, no knots. So I know that's probably easier for them to turn. I question whether that would be a good a product as maybe a yellow pine. The guy I talked to here that lives in Kansas said that he would either use hemlock or yellow pine because the yellow pine has more sap, more chance to last longer, he said. Yeah.
Okay. And then I guess you said you painted the house the pink shades.
When we first moved in, it was red. We painted it about, 5 different colors of pink. We kind of accented the different details of the house. Mm-hmm. But at that time, the Painted Ladies was popular. And as time went on, I feel that the original color of the house was a medium gray with black window sashes. As far as I can tell, a few of the ornaments, the medallions were painted a different color of gray. Originally, I don't know on the one of the current features or pictures that you have on the north side of the house, we found that lap siding had been put over some of the original trim, and we took that off to reflect the original trim that was there. So we uncovered what was there originally. But the original color was gray, medium gray, so it's a little darker now than it was. And I feel like it's more probably, when you think about the historic value here in Salina, it'd be more appropriate, not a painted lady. Yeah. However, we did like it as a painted lady. Mm-hmm. We probably had more negative comments when we painted it pink than we did. We didn't have any comments when we painted it this color.
Right. Okay. All right. Do you guys have any other questions? Or no? Okay. Well, thank you. And I assume there's nobody else online.
Nobody has joined online.
Okay. So I guess I would be open for a motion if you don't have any other comments.
I move we approve number 2.
Okay.
Number 2, CA 25-6.
All right. I have a motion.
I second.
Motion and a second for option 2. Approve a certificate of appropriateness for proposed porch repairs and potential replacement components based on staff findings, subject to any conditions approved by a majority of the commission. And those conditions are noted on the paper. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Motion carries. All right. Next on the agenda is item 4. Is there any unfinished or other business to discuss?
We do not have any administrative items or unfinished business.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. I was looking at administrative.
Oh.
As far as unfinished business, yes, we have a couple of things. I have 3 items. First, our next regularly scheduled meeting will be January 28th, 2026. Is that right, Daisy? Okay. That's where we'll do the annual review or annual report. And we currently don't have any other agenda items for that meeting at this time. The second is, as the commission's aware, Dean Andrew retired last July and June. And since then, we've been looking to fill his position. So just to let you know that I have transitioned officially into the role of planning manager for the planning division, and that encompasses the zoning administrator role. So I look forward to continuing the work with the commission in that capacity now. And finally, with my transition to planning manager, my previous position is now open and we're accepting applications. So we hope to fill that role in early 2026. And that's all I have for updates.
Okay.
Congratulations.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Congrats. All right. Item 5 is public forum. Assume there's still nobody on.
Nobody has joined online.
Okay. Thank you. So if there's no further discussion today, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
I have a motion.
A second.
And a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.